Welcome to BusinessWise, the show that provides you with tools of management, whether one is managing their business, relationships, or their life. My name is Arte Marin, and I'm your host of BusinessWise, and tonight's show is full of surprises. It's not one you want to miss. Stay tuned. Managing group expansion. It's not just a term in terms of dealing with lots of people and managing a company. It's also the name of a company. Managing group expansion, we're very pleased to have with us tonight the CEO, Louis Colon. Louis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Artie.
Now, I know that managing group expansion, or MGE, has been involved with managing and assisting training and consulting professionals, entrepreneurs for what? How long?
I would say 14 years.
14 years. And the growth of the company during that time?
Well, in the last 5 years, we've had about 600%.
I'm sorry, I thought you said 600.
Yeah.
Actually,
from the day one, we've had 600%.
All right. So now we're gonna have to talk about this. Companies are having difficulties. They're quote downsizing. Many have gone out of business, especially in the training and consulting industry.
Right.
Yet MGE has had steady growth and indeed spectacular growth. Why don't you tell us a bit about MGE, what it does and how it does it?
Well, we train professionals. The basic successful action is that we would train the owner. And it's a little different than just going in and fixing his problem for him, and then he walks away and doesn't know what did it. What was this? How did we do this?
So you're not really acting as quote normal consultants. Go in, find out what's wrong, come back, give a presentation. Here's what you need to do to fix your company. What's wrong with that?
Exactly.
What's wrong with that? Well,
because he'll need you all the time. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what fixed it.
Then it pays you more money. What's wrong with that?
Well, I actually had that thought once. I was like, that's not why I'm in this business.
So
yeah, I want to help people. I want to see them actually do better, where they learn how to fish. They're the ones that know how to go in there and actually do it themselves.
All right. So you want to put them in the driver's seat.
Yeah, put them in control.
Okay. All right. I know when in my consulting career, I always felt that consulting was where they rented the information as opposed to training where they bought it and they owned it.
Exactly.
So how do you do that? What's the mechanism?
Well, we have a course room, and we go for the owners because it's from the top down. And we want to help them establish an executive strata, so to speak. So they actually have, not only they know what's going on, but then they have executives underneath them that know what's going on, and they all speak the same language. They know how to organize, how to manage, how to hire, how to promote, and they all speak the same language.
And how do they learn these things? How does that happen?
They arrive on course. There's two ways we train people. One, we have a course room, and they'll have packs and books, and they read through it, and they get supervised. Then there's seminars where we actually discuss this information and the utilization of it, the practicality of it. How does it apply to their situation? And practice it. And this way, yeah.
Now there's a lot of companies that do training. A lot of companies do consulting.
Right.
What's unique about MGE?
Well, we use the Hubbard Management technology. That's the bottom line. We know it works. I've been using this for 30 years, this technology, and it works. It takes somebody and here they have a problem, and then there's something you can do something about. You can do something about it. There's an answer to it. And it's not like you have to go through dozens of years of education to actually be able to fix a company. You can actually do it in weeks, months, time.
Now, I understand the reputation of the company is one where some of your clients have been with the company in terms of continued training for 5 years, 6 years. They will constantly return.
Yeah, they stick with it.
How do you engender that kind of trust or that kind of continued loyalty?
Results. That's the bottom line. Just results. They get something, and then they not only do they get it, but then they find out, and we found this out through experience, and they start wanting to help the other professionals to understand it too. They take on that role of not only, now I'm in trouble first and help me, and all of a sudden they go, wow, I can do this, and then people start asking them, how do you do it? And they find out that they're mentors in their own profession.
I get you. So now, take me through, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, a lot of professional practice owners and doctors who watch this show.
Right.
Take me through a typical, the typical evolution of a client. What are they all about when they come in, and what do they look like a year later?
Good question. When they come in, usually they're doing average, below average production. We'll take a dentist, example. Doing 20, 25,000 a month production.
Right, and my viewers should know that in case you've ever wondered what your dentist's income is, the average or below average is somewhere around 25 to 30,000.
And that's the practice production, and they're personally not making that much money.
Right.
The overhead is pretty high. The overhead's usually 80%. So, and they're not getting very many new patients. And it's very interesting because they are good. They're great technicians. They know their field. They know how to restore the teeth and that sort of thing, the oral health. But they were never trained how to hire, manage, supervise, financial plan, market.
Right.
Nobody taught them.
Right. And isn't that the same with usually Joe Smith, manufacturer, or anybody else?
Absolutely the same.
He learned how to put these pens together. He's an expert at it, but when it comes to running the show.
That's a great, yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now here he is, and he's a little below average. He's a great technician, but trouble putting the business together.
Right. So they walk in, and the first thing we do is usually they're stressed out. So we work through and teach them. Well, we find out what they're stressed out about. Usually it's they don't know how to get new patients and market, so we go through that and we teach them. Then we go through how to.
And this is all still using the Hubbard methodology.
100% Hubbard methodology, Hubbard technology, 100%. And we're very upfront with them on it. They know it.
Now, isn't it also true from the research? My research staff before the show let me know that your partner is a former very successful dentist.
Yes, he was my client.
And I see. So he came up through.
He came to me.
I see. Got it.
Yeah, he was in Indiana, hurting. Things were going very bad. He sat down in front of me, and I figured out exactly what was going on and said, good, well, you're a good dentist, but you're not very good as an executive.
Right.
And as a salesperson. So we need to handle that.
Right. And by the time he was done with his training, he had expanded tremendously.
Tremendous. Not only did he expand, it was the speed of expansion. It was a matter of weeks. Within 5 weeks, he practically doubled from when he walked in.
Wow.
And the new patients were coming in. And he hadn't even marketed yet. We just handled the stressful situation, reorganized the activity. It was, and then he brought in an associate, and we trained an associate. So he could go in for 2 days a week and produce. And the practice just took off. It was doing great. He needed a new game, so that's when I offered him a partnership.
Right. Got it. Okay. So now we have somebody who's come in. They're starting to train on some kind of a regular basis. And now what? They have more confidence, they have more tools with which to work, and they start seeing the changes.
Absolutely. Yeah,
What about staff? How difficult is it to get the staff on board? I mean, we know the doctor comes in, or the entrepreneur, the manager, they've learned the tools, they're excited, they go back. Now they've got 5, 10, 50 staff who haven't done the training.
Right.
So how does that happen?
Well, it starts off by getting the managers trained, because it's the managers that are handling the staff. Mm-hmm. So first the doctor's the owner, so he needs managers. Mm-hmm. And the managers have to be on the same page as the doctor now. Mm-hmm. Now that the doctor is like less stressed and he's feeling better, he also knows how to market, he knows how to get case presentation. People starting to really get what's needed. Mm-hmm. And the other staff are, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? So let's take the managers now, get them through the similar process. Mm-hmm. So now they all at the same page can then take responsibility for the rest of the staff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah, then we also, just want to throw this in here, we also then promote that once the organization is set up to produce, we promote them having their own course room in their own office.
So once they learn how this is done,
right,
they no longer have to necessarily be at your facility. You can train them to then implement these materials in their own environment.
Right.
On a continuing basis.
We actually train somebody, we call it a company trainer. Uh-huh.
So this is training the trainer, in a sense.
Who will actually train the staff on all the materials that we would train the executives. And this way they do communication courses, so they learn how to communicate better with the public, marketing courses, management courses. So
it looks like you've got a certainly more than a workable model, and one that I guess the most important thing that I see from having many guests, and of course having been in consulting for 25 years, you have a perpetuation. You've got something that continues. It's not somebody shows up, you give them some advice, they go back. This is a continued amount of training,
right,
which is quite brilliant, actually. You know, I think this is a good point to let our viewers know that the Hubbard Management technology is available all over the world. It's through the Hubbard colleges and through other facilities where one can learn these tools. And I use the word tools because by using the right tools you can get leverage. And most difficulties in a business stem from simply not having accurate or effective tools with which to attack these challenges and problems. There isn't a problem or a challenge that can't be solved with the right tool. And the effectiveness of these tools developed by L. Ron Hubbard.
What do you guys want to do?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
1, 2, ready, go. Gonna pull the stops, gonna make it go. Drop down, gag you bound, just sitting down and getting nowhere. You're living on a wing and a prayer. Gonna put them things together. You know it's now or never. The building will be
What do you guys want to do now?
We're back with our guest, Louis Cologne, CEO of MGE. Now, Louis, we were talking about the stages that the entrepreneur, the business manager goes through. How they begin, they come in maybe stressed out, insufficient income, not directing the finances well. They learn these tools through the Hubbard Management System. They then bring in their executives, their managers, they learn the tools, and then the whole group, in a sense, then goes back out, brings this to their home base, and everybody gets trained on the technology.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have a kind of an idea of the model and the rundown. What I'm interested in also is this phenomenal growth of MGE. Now we know that your clients, in essence your customers, do well through this. What about the application of the Hubbard Management Technology to MGE that helped create this expansion?
We do the same thing. The exact same thing we teach our clients, we do internal. We have the executives continuously being trained, the staff being trained. We have our own organizing chart managed by statistics. So we apply everything. In essence, being a model for the clients. So when the clients walk in, they see that this is application in progress. That's vital.
Okay. Well, we have a fair amount of viewers out there right now and all over the country who are not perhaps ready to jump on to a program like yours. What's the advice for, I mean, you've consulted and trained literally thousands of people. What are the 2 or 3 rules that you feel there's something that they could take away right now, that they could start using tomorrow to get a feel for the power and the effectiveness of this technology?
That's a good question because there's so many. But my advice to somebody when I first meet them is I give them a basic tool, Hubbard tool, called knowledge, responsibility, control. I show them how each one of those relate to each other. And to increase your knowledge on an area, no matter what, so that you can then take responsibility. Now, responsibility is a big word, but let's look at it from the willingness to make a decision. When a person knows something, they make decisions very quickly. And if you have a hard time making a decision, realize that, wait a minute, maybe I need to know more about that.
Okay, so let's just stick with the K, or the knowing.
Right.
So you're saying rule number 1, if I can interpret it, if you know, Mr. or Mrs. Entrepreneur, if you're having a difficulty in any area of the business, step back, stop trying to fix it, step back, get more knowledge about that area.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just get more knowledge. Just find it anywhere. Find out who's being successful, what books cover it. I mean, whatever. Just start trying to get that area, the knowledge of that area.
Okay, good. So now I've done that. I've gone to the books. I was having trouble with marketing. I've looked up a few things. Maybe I called your office. They sent me some material. I looked at it. I thought, oh, I can see. I got a better idea of marketing. I realized what I've been doing or not doing. Now what?
Make a decision. Make a decision. You see, because...
So you've got decision tied right in with the responsibility.
Absolutely. Because if you don't make that decision, you're going to be stuck on a maybe. And that's where I find most people, when they fail, that they're just, well, if I maybe, and then years later they're still, well, maybe. Make that decision.
That's interesting.
Just
so you're tying in, if I can say this, that you're tying in irresponsibility with indecision.
Bingo. That's exactly what it is.
All right. I think our viewers find that interesting too, because at least my concept of an executive is someone who can make decisions. In fact, doesn't it? You know, it comes from X and sequi, follow through, execute. You know, make it happen.
Follow right through to the end. Make that decision. And it's hard to make a decision if you don't have the knowledge. That's why the K is very important. So it's
right. All right. So they follow one to another. Good. All right. So we've got the knowledge that bolds us up, gives us a little more confidence to make that decision, and find areas. You know, I know I have read where Hubbard discusses the fact that it's very therapeutic to find areas where there's been indecision, where there are maybes, and say, okay, I'm putting that one to rest. This is a yes. That's a no. That's a. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good. Then what? Because you mentioned there was one more.
Control. You put it right through. You become very positive about putting it into action. It's not just a thought. You can make a decision, but then follow through. Right out here, you do it.
So in other words, I'm not going to get away with, okay, well, I've decided that one. Now you expect me to actually take action.
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly.
And that taking action is the control factor.
Exactly. Because you'll notice that someone who does not make a decision is stuck in inaction. That maybe, there's no action after that. But as soon as you make that decision, you follow through.
What if the decision's wrong?
Well, then you learn.
So you're
Hopefully
saying,
you learn
all
from your
right, so you're
mistakes.
saying, so what?
Yeah,
So
it's
better,
like-
better to act and be a little off than sit there frozen
Yeah.
and never take action at all.
If something is not going right, you can always step
Right.
back and say, wait a minute, I don't
You know,
apply it again.
Years ago, we used to call that ready, fire, aim. All right,
Oops.
good. All right, well, look, there's another factor here, another dimension to Louis Cologne, to MGE, and you may not know that we know about this, but again, BusinessWise, Axiom 10, we pride ourselves on our research. We have this vast research department of 2 people. No, we have, the fact is that you have an interesting concept on what is their life after success. See, with 600% of growth of MGE and countless number of clients, and Lord only knows how many dollars, after a while one says, you know, we can play this game. We've won this game. We can do this all day long. We can do it in our sleep.
Right.
And I was intrigued when we had dinner one night and you gave me your view about the responsibility of the successful person. You know, we talk about the person who needs some help. We talk about the person who needs tools.
Right.
All right, they need to take more responsibility for what they don't know. And they got to come in there and they got to get some tools.
Right.
What about the successful entrepreneur who's sitting at the top of the world? What does he or she do?
He starts expanding, going out into society and increasing his zone of influence
But
to
he's
better,
already going out into society.
well, with his business, his practice.
Yeah.
But now take a look around and see that there are areas in your environment, in the state of affairs,
Such as?
education, drug rehabilitation, government.
So you're saying take the success, take the power, take the energy, take the money, and do something worthwhile in your own immediate environment.
Exactly.
In a game of your choosing.
Right, a game of your choosing, you expand your zone of influence. You can actually help change the way things go in your town. It could be just your school board. It could be anything. You'll find out that you start working on it bit by bit, and you start realizing that, hey, there's other people out there that don't know. They don't have the K, the knowledge, responsibility, control that you just now went through. And with your guidance, you can actually better the way things are.
Interesting. Now, my understanding is that this is, all right, maybe it's not a formal requirement of MGE, but it's built in to the program. It's assumed that Mr. Jones, Dr. Smith, when you're successful, or Sally Martin, when you're successful, you're going to be expected to give back to the community in these areas of social reform. And what are some of the programs that you've been very active in?
Well, a lot of social reform programs. One of them has to do with criminal rehabilitation, using Hubbard technology in criminal rehabilitation. Very successful pilot, was done for 5 years. The clients saw this. They actually went to see it, and they decided to wait a minute. We need to put this into the United States, and they backed it up. And now it's operating in the territory of Puerto Rico. And yes, they're
and no
moving
doubt
it.
quite proud that they've had a hand in that.
Very proud, because they did it.
Terrific. What else?
Well, the whole subject of drugging children unnecessarily.
Child drugging. And
Yeah, it's just not okay. Just get the psychiatric abuse, or going in there. Schools telling the kids they have to be at Ritalin instead of teaching the kids. So they got behind. Wait a minute. There's something we could get behind here.
They, meaning your horde
The clients,
of clients.
absolutely.
That's a lot of power to put into an area, especially when I know one of your locations is very close to Washington, D.C.
Right outside of D.C. That's right. We've had busloads of our clients actually go to the Capitol to talk to their senators.
Right. Well, see, I want to thank you for coming here and sharing this with us, because you're really, I think, setting an example. Not only an example of perhaps the Hubbard management technology, but beyond that is the human being.
Right.
Is the human being, the humanness, the harnessing of this power that you're creating. And I think if I may say, that MGE is applying KRC and taking responsibility for their area. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. We much
Thank you, Artie.
appreciate it. And I want to thank our viewers too for yet another evening. Thanks very much. We'll see you next week on BusinessWise.